In this video, we are going to learn about orphan process in Unix system. An orphan process is a process whose parent process terminates before the child process finishes execution. The idea of the process is obtained by using the function getPID. The idea of the parent process is obtained by using the function getPPID. All these functions fork, getPID and getPPID are available in the Unix standard library. So therefore, we need to include unistd.h library for invoking these functions. Which process executes first? The order of the execution of the process, whether parent first or child first, is indeterminate and is completely depending on the operating system preference. The operating system scheduler decides which process to be executed, or in multi-core systems, the parent and child can run simultaneously at the same time on different cores. Some operating systems prioritize the parent process execution before the child process in order to reduce overhead of copy and write. We can control the execution sequence of these processes by using various functions like wait or waitPID. Generally, these two functions are used in the parent process, and sleep function in child process, or synchronization tools like pipe, semaphores for inter-process communication to control the execution order of the processes. Now let us see how to create an orphan process using a C program. The necessary libraries are included. Then fork system call is invoked. We know that fork returns two values, one for parent and one for child. For parent, it returns the PID of the child process. For child, it returns 0. So therefore, based on the PID value, we can divide the program into two parts, one for parent and another for the child process. This is the section for parent process and this is the section for the child process. In parent process, we are printing the ID of the parent, the ID of its parent by using getPPID, and finally parent process is terminated. In child process, we are printing the child process ID and child process parent ID in case if child process execute first. After printing these two statements, child process go to sleep state. So automatically control is transferred to the parent. The parent process print all the three statements and it exits. When parent process is terminated, upon the completion of the sleep operation by the child process, then child product will execute the remaining statements in the child process. In these remaining statements, we are printing the ID of the child process, then the ID of the parent process. So when a child process is executed after the completion of the parent process, we can observe there will be a difference in the ID of the parent process for the child before the sleep and after the sleep. An orphan process is adapted by init process. Init is the first process created by the operating system during booting process. Generally, the init process ID is 1 and it will be the parent of all system processes. When there is any orphan process is created, then init process automatically adapts the orphan process and it will assign the parent ID for the orphan process as 1, or the ID of the init process is assigned. Therefore, for any orphan process, the parent ID is equivalent to init process ID. Now we will have the demo of this program, Ubuntu terminal. Here is the program in the Ubuntu terminal. Let us execute the program by using the GCC. This is the output from the program. Let us interpret the output. So as mentioned in the program, here parent process is executed first. The ID of the parent is 12226 and its parent is 334. The ID of the child is 1227 and its parent is the parent ID, which is exactly showing here 1226. Now the parent process is terminated. Still the child process is not completed its execution. Now the child process becomes the orphan process. Since it is entering into the sleep state, the child process becomes an orphan process. After the completion of the sleep operation, the child process comes back and execute the rest of the statements in the program. The ID of the child process 1227, there is no change, but the ID of the parent process is different. Previously, the child process parent ID is 1226. Now the child process parent ID is 329. So in this way, we can say that the child process is adapted by another process whose ID is 329. That obviously a init process. So finally, the child process is terminated. In this way, a child process can become an orphan process and it is adapted by the init process. Now let us examine what is the ID 329 refers to. Type the command ps329. This command shows that 329 is an init process. So this confirms that the child process is adapted by a init process. Thank you for watching this video.